Welcome back into the live edition of the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Stone Shields, behind the scenes on today's show. We'll run through all the latest on the Dallas Cowboys, from coaching to the NFL draft as well. The first question on today's show, sparked by multiple comments now made by Stephen Jones. Will the Cowboys actually spend more than 5 cents in NFL free agency? They haven't done a $10 million per year deal on an outside free agent since Brandon Carr. It's been 13 years. I think it was 13 since they did that. They kind of gave one to Greg Hardy, but it was like it was incentives like up to 11, and he got like $3 million worth of it. So not really $10 million there. Haven't given out like more than 6 or 7 in guaranteed since like Cedric Thornton, which That's Cowboys legend for you there, right, on that one. Will the Cowboys actually spend in free agency? Y for yes, N for no. This is the pinned poll on today's show as well. 48% for now, voting yes. 52% voting no. My mindset remains the same. Let's see if they do it. I want to see them actually spend money. I want to see them prove that they are willing to add free agents, not just their own, but outside the organization. I need to see it happen first, because the trust is certainly not there. So get your votes in. Will the Cowboys spend in free agency? Y for yes, N for no. As we got a $2 super chat from CJ DeYoung III, who says, not just no, but hell no on that one. Yeah. I want to believe. I need to see it happen before I actually believe, though, which I think probably a lot of us feel very similarly in that regard, because it's been a while since they chose to actually spend in free agency. More Cowboys questions for you to come, but first, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time's got a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets for events even easier. Filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. Download the Game Time app today, create your account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Today's live show also made possible by Prize Picks. The big game is just around the corner, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. What is your confidence level in the Brian Schottenheimer offensive scheme and philosophy and everything in there? Cowboys are still searching for the offensive coordinator. We'll figure out probably in the next couple days what the hire ends up being. Still another new name we'll discuss on today's show. I don't know if they're done interviewing coaches yet, by the way. There's a chance they end up interviewing more candidates for the OC role than they interviewed for the head coaching role, which is an indictment on the head coaching process, and also maybe a positive indictment on the offensive coordinator process. So what is your confidence level? 1 to 10 is your scale. 4, 1, 4, 8.69 in the comments section. Get your votes in for me as we get to William Cook's $5 super chat. Thank you, William. Maybe, just maybe, is to make the decision to hire Schotty look good and prove they were right. If that's what it takes, cool. Let's do it. I'm down. If someone's like, they have to spend. They don't have to do anything. They needed to spend last year, and they didn't spend money last year. So I hope that whatever the reasoning is, which I hope it's just we want to win games and our best chance to help us is to pay players in free agency. I hope they acknowledge that and not just, trying to cover their butts a little bit, but it's better than not doing anything. So I hope that they go down this path and sign outside free agents for once. Honestly, you could just give me 5 Eric Kendricks level signings And I think that's the biggest Cowboys free agency in about 15 years. That's the bar we're currently at. So back to this question, your confidence level in Schotty's offense. Scale it from 1 to 10. I see 100, a 9, a 1, a 6, a 1. CJ still spamming 0.69, which I appreciate there. Because it's funny, and I like to be immature on the show. 1 from ND Irish fan. 5 is in there as well. So mostly low numbers. 99, 6. I get that. This is very much, I think, the overall philosophy of like Schottenheimer, like from a fan's perspective, is like of the Schottenheimer side, of the front office side, is like, okay, prove it to me. Prove to me that you think that this is going to work. Because I think a lot of us are tapped out of just blind faith at this point. We'll talk draft on today's show as well. New 7-round Cowboys mock draft. Trying to keep the names somewhat realistic. You're not going to get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I will drop the AI-generated Abdul Carter bong mask photo, though. I will do my part to try to get him to fall. It's not going to work. This is very obvious because the hands still don't work on AI-generated photos. Still have like 6 digits in like weird forms. Which I actually think is a good thing because it can get a little too serious sometimes. Who do you want to draft in round 1? Keep those names semi-realistic for me as much as possible here. Ashton Jeanty is the first one in there from D Money. If he's there, he's going to be the best player on my board. So I don't think I wouldn't be mad at it, especially if you address your other needs in the offseason. That, I think, would benefit you pretty significantly. Jeanty, Ted McMillan. Love it if he's there. Don't think he will be. But then again, I also thought there was no chance CeeDee Lamb gets to you, and look how that one turned out. Kelvin Banks, chance he's there. Luther Burden, Mason Graham. I doubt Mason Graham is there, but that'd be a good pick as long as you can ignore the helmet. Malachi Starks is one. Okay. Luther Burden or Ibuka if Genty's gone. I think that's a fine fallback. I think there's a good chance Luther Burden's there for you, which if that's your fallback option, that's a pretty good fallback option as far as I'm concerned. Burden, Jeanty, no project players. Josh Simmons. Bit worried about the injury coming off, but he played really well in the small sample size he had. Anyone but Jalen Walker. Okay. Matthew Golden. I think Golden goes between your pick at 12 and maybe your pick at 44. Maybe he slides down to 44 somehow, but with the way this class shapes up, I think there's a chance he goes pretty early. He's a good player, though. Very good player. Jeanty in there as well from Fernando. So the majority of the comments voting in on the Jeanty side. I want you guys to help us out by liking today's video. Free, simple, easy to do. The more likes we get, the more videos we get to do and all that good stuff. So please and thank you. Like today's show. We're always aiming for the 50% like ratio. We are not that close to it, frankly, but we can at least get to 69 likes in theory. Hopefully, if everyone likes it, we'd get way past it on today's show. Coming up live on this edition of the Cowboys Report, we'll discuss some Cowboys news and rumors, updates kind of across the board on the coaching search and extension talk from Stephen Jones talking again at the Senior Bowl. An updated Cowboys offseason plan with the hiring of Brian Schottenheimer. My request was hire Brian Schottenheimer fire McCarthy and do a real coaching search on the first one. So we are 0 for 1 on that because they did not do a real search. We'll have a mailbag. Get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys like Day TV did, or Super Chat. Skip the line altogether like CJ Young and William Cook did. And we will do a 7-round Cowboys mock draft for you here on the show. All getting started right now. With the month winding down, we are narrowly losing our like battle against Eagles now. I would say it's because they are in the middle of a playoff run and they get benefits from that. But I still want to beat them. And hopefully this means they don't win the Super Bowl either. It's around 2,000. That's a very catchable number, actually, with what we have left remaining in the month here and the video from the other day that is going to hasn't actually counted yet on the YouTube analytics side. So like the video. Help us take down Eagles now in our monthly like battle. Let's talk coaching here. A lot of updates to begin today's show. As Brian Schottenheimer continues the search for the next OC, Stephen Jones kind of laid out what Schotty's looking for in a conversation he had at the Senior Bowl. Here's what Stephen said. The key this day and time is to marry that run game to the pass game, and Schotty is all over that. He wants to find a guy who is able to marry his philosophies to the run game. We want to be able to run the ball. Everyone says we want to run the ball and stop the run, and so that's what we want to do. That's what great championship football teams do. I know Coach Schottenheimer wants to do that. I think it's real important we find it in this hire a coach that's going to be outstanding in the run game. Look, it's very obvious that this hire is run game focused, which I actually don't have any specific issues with that being the focus for the offensive coordinator search. Big reason being, I did not like your run game concepts last season. I don't like how they were so insistent upon. I called that run game scheme tight zone as an insult. I didn't mean it as a compliment. I'm like, this is just tight zone and it's not good. And then McCarthy got up there and called it tight zone one day. And I'm like, oh my God, we're screwed. I didn't like that philosophy. That the stuff that works well relative to different run schemes is it's counters, it's outside zone, it's tosses, it's stuff that gets you on the move more and not just run the ball right up the middle. I will say this part too. I do not want to be run, pass. I do think your run game needs some fixing. If you can get a coach that can bring some good ideas and overhaul your philosophy, I am all for that. I don't want to adopt a Marty Ball approach, though, because Marty Ball is a pejorative term back when it was actually used with the Marty Schottenheimer era. I am down to be far more effective running the football. I would love nothing more to be able to close out a bunch of games in the fourth quarter on the ground. I think there is an argument to be made about the cyclical nature of football and run game being a little bit more important than maybe it was, 3-4 years ago. But I don't want to just be run, pass. So there's a line you have to balance there. So what is your confidence level in Schottenheimer's offense? It's the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. There are 2 known interviews at this time that have gone down over the past couple of days for the Dallas Cowboys. There's Kevin Koger, the Falcons tight end coach, and then most notably, Klayton Adams, the Cardinals offensive line coach. And it is this potential hire that I am most intrigued by. He has offensive line coach background. I don't want Mike Solari on this team anymore. I think that would be a beneficial thing to you. And the stuff that Adams seems to be most involved in Arizona is the run game stuff. And the run game stuff for the Cardinals is really good. You can go wind back the clock to like October when we did our first Mike McCarthy replacements. I had Drew Petzing on that list, the Cardinals OC, specifically because of what he has done in the run game. He has run, the Cardinals, I got the note here, they have run counter concepts, which statistically was a pretty good play call to run, over 3 times more over the past 2 seasons than the Dallas Cowboys. It's a far more diverse run scheme. There's no ties to the Cowboys. There's no ties to Brian Schottenheimer. This type of outside the organization, new hire, new blood idea, that intrigues me quite a bit. There's another name, though, that has now popped up in the conversation. It's Ken Dorsey. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting today that Dorsey the Cowboys are considering hiring the former Browns OC for that role. Interview, we'll see, logistics being discussed. This one I'm not as intrigued by. Now, despite being a quarterback's coach, Dorsey, for the most part, has actually been fairly heavily involved in run game stuff back in Carolina and with Buffalo. He also got fired as the Bills OC. I think the offense played better this year, really, since they kind of made the move to Joe Brady. Also got fired as the Browns OC. Not all his fault in either spot, to an extent scapegoated, but I would have far more interest in the Panthers, or as a quarterback's coach for Ken Dorsey, than as an offensive coordinator. More good news on the coaching staff side. Linda Wells is back on the staff. He reached an extension today, as broken by multiple different reporters kind of all at once there. He did take an interview with the Chicago Bears. As of filming, I haven't seen any actual specific announcement to what the position role is going to be. There'd been a lot of conversation about Wells potentially being an offensive line coach again, which he played offensive line. The Commanders wanted him as their own line coach. He was the Giants' assistant line coach for a few years, has served as the tight ends coach. So I'm going to keep an eye on what particular role it is, as of right now, sounds more like tight ends coach. But until that is officially announced, and it's not just kind of vague staffing, which is all it was said, it was the tight ends coach. He's back on staff. Makes me think he's back as the tight ends coach, but it's not actually specified quite yet. But keeping Wells is a win for this Cowboys staff. He is very good at what he does. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time's got a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. So don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. It is curation designed to make it easier to save more on concerts, comedy, theater, everything else in between. Download the Game Time app today, create your account, and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but do make note, the Game Time guarantee is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off that first purchase. That's code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply, but the link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Do want to spend the back half of today's video discussing all the different Stephen Jones comments of him hinting at, hey, maybe we'll spend some more money in free agency. So first, the first quote, I should say, from Stephen Jones. We're going to take a long, hard look. This is from the Schotty press conference. Long, hard look at how we've looked at free agency. And if we need to change some things there, we will. Then at the Senior Bowl, Stephen said, we'll take a look at everything because we've got to change the narrative, and we understand that. I have thoughts on the specific wording from Stephen Jones. This is not also the Cowboys. There's one bad account was like, Cowboys, they're going to be aggressive in free agency. He never said that. He never said that. But will they actually spend a little bit more than what they have in previous years? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's video. Do you think the Cowboys will actually spend in free agency? Look, for me, and when it comes to the Cowboys actually spending in free agency for once, I will believe this when I see it. I need to see the Cowboys actually spend money and not just bargain bin shop all the way through and act like the poorest franchise in NFL history when they have millions of dollars to spend every single offseason. I also want to point out this. Stephen Jones' wording was, and he said this on a different show too on SiriusXM at one point, they want to change the narrative. That is different than, hey, we need to change our ways. We got to change the way we're viewed. Does that mean they actually think they're making mistakes? Or they just want to ignore some of the narratives around them and push that to the side and because they don't believe the narratives? I don't know. Look, this is the same team that thinks the Gilmore and Cooks trades were them being ultra aggressive when it was a couple of day 3 picks of trades. It was helpful, but you needed more than that in free agency. It played out that way. This team has to be more aggressive. They cannot not spend the same amount of money the other teams do. They have to spend more. It is a competitive disadvantage to not be spending the way a team like the Eagles are. Eagles miss picks and players too, but when they make a miss, they've made 4 other moves that help overcome it. You know, they whiffed on the Devin White signing. It was a terrible one. They also signed Zach Bond. Look how good that one worked out. They have to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, we will have more Cowboys coaching staff and offseason news for you. Hit that sub button right now. YouTube.com/CowboysTV for more free Cowboys updates. Stephen also discussing some extension possibilities, mentioning by name both Micah Parsons and Daron Bland as we get closer to the offseason. Stephen saying, quote, we had to get this coaching situation sorted, and it was our number one priority because it had to happen ASAP. And then you can gather the team and start to prioritize likes of a Micah Parsons or Daron Bland or whoever else that may be. So let's discuss both these candidates here for extensions. Updated numbers from over the cap with rising salary cap, etc. $24 million cap hit right now is the expected 5th-year option for Micah Parsons. There's no flexibility when it comes to the way that hits the salary cap this year unless you extend him. If you extend him and you do what every other NFL franchise does and push some of that money out into the future when the salary cap continues to go up, you can save $18 million by restructuring Dak Prescott as the deal is designed to, by restructuring CeeDee Lamb as the deal is designed to, by paying Micah Parsons early like a competent franchise does before free agency gets going. You can save $75 million in 3 simple moves. That is more than enough money to bring back the guys you want to bring back and sign multiple free agents. You can create more money if you want to. Look, Lamb, the Micah deal is going to be super expensive. It's probably going to be the highest paid non-quarterback ever. And when TJ Watt due for a new deal, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, I would prioritize that one. And Mike has said he's kind of opened the door, like, let's have talks now. Go get it done. Go get that locked up by the end of the combine. And that way you have more money to spend and build a more competitive team. The Daron Bland inclusion, also interesting. The Cowboys have been snake bit a bit by some of these early extensions. The Gallup one didn't work out. It wasn't quite as early. The Jalen Smith one was bad. The Zeke one was bad. You got to be able to trust your own self-scouting. Getting a Bland deal done right now doesn't save as much money. It could free up around $3 million in the short term, and then avoids an expensive franchise tag the year after that and or a second franchise tag. So you do benefit from paying Bland early as long as you trust him to be healthy. It's an impact corner. And yeah, you're currently paying Trayvon Diggs big money. The way you're going to design those contracts, if you need to, is you can pay Daron Bland this offseason and not really have it impact your salary cap until you decide to either move on from Trayvon Diggs or potentially restructure Diggs and extend him as well and kind of balance your books that way so it's not counting. Diggs has not yet made $19 million per year on his deal. He hasn't come close to it, frankly. So you pay Bland now, kind of run into a similar thing. What the Bland deal looks like, though, I don't actually know. I think there's a pretty big range, but you're looking at least $19 million per year if you want to pay him. All right, we'll come back to some more Cowboys coverage, but the Super Bowl is just around the corner. Who are you cheering for in this particular game? You can type in E for your cheering for the Eagles. This is a safe spot to comment and vote however you feel the need to comment and vote. You will never catch me cheering for the Eagles. I cannot bring myself to do it. It's too painful. C for the Chiefs, or if you're like me, you're just going to cheer for the asteroid to come and destroy everything. Or B for Bane if you want to do that one, like in The Dark Knight Rises, which was just the Steelers at that point. That stadium blows up, whatever. No loss of life. I should probably specify that one. No loss of life. Otherwise, I feel like I'm going to hell. E for the Eagles, C for the Chiefs, or A for the asteroid. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. E, C, or A. So you are a independent fan. Who would you go with here? Because you're a Bengals fan. I know you're not cheering for the Chiefs.
For a while it was, let the Chiefs get another one. We'll catch them at some point. But now, Patrick's approaching, 4? Burrow still has none. So I'm pulling for the Eagles here. I really like Smitty. I would like to see Jalen Hurts get one. So I know the Cowboys fans don't like that, but I'm pulling for the Eagles. But also the asteroid's a good option as well.
Everyone type boo in the boo stone in the comment section. I would prefer that the asteroid wins. I think it's a great outcome. No game played. We're cheering for the Eagles. Get the hell out of here. Let me just slack myself to bring that up during your next performance review. Hold on. Mostly kidding. All right, let's go to a super chat from GKD Records, a $2 super chat. Call me crazy, but I believe in Brian Schottenheimer as our coach. I'm not going to fault anyone for believing. Because I want to believe, too. I want to believe that this is going to work, that this is going to work out, and it will finally have the success that we all desperately crave from this organization. I am a little bit tapped out in the blind faith department. The process objectively stunk, but I will not cheer against him. I will cheer for him, which I do want to I do want to emphasize, given all the toaster jokes that I have made, someone asked me if I've done a toaster joke for the OC. I'm like, I'm not doing toasters for an OC. It's a non-play calling OC. You want to get hired to feel good about it, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna drop a toaster for that one. So, but I appreciate the super chat, GKD Records. Let's get to Lucid Chart 32's super chat. Then we'll get to the next segment on today's show. The people want you removed from the show, by the way. I don't disagree. I have to have a conversation about this. You're suspended from Monday's show. How about that? We'll suspend him from Monday's show. All right, Lucid Chart 32. The Eagles win. I'm going to be mad. Those fans, too much. I would just not log online. I would not pull up social media if the Eagles won. Just stay off. Just don't even give them a chance to engage with you. With Brian Schottenheimer now hired as the Cowboys head coach, it is time for an updated look at the ideal offseason plan. This one kind of somewhat realistic is the goal on that front. Some similar things from the last time we've did this and some updated elements as well. First, Stephen Jones says they're going to spend some more money, that they're open to spending more. This will come into play for our first two steps. But do you buy his comments about the Cowboys maybe spending more? T for it's the truth. You believe him. They're going to change their ways. L for it's lip service. That they're not going to do anything about it. They're just trying to placate us for now. T for truth. L for lie. Step by step, Cowboys offseason plan. Number one, be aggressive and spend. We've talked about this a lot, and it is worth hammering home. If the Cowboys do not change their ways, if they are not willing to spend more money and be more aggressive like the other top teams in this conference, in this football league are, it's not going to matter who the head coach is. It's not going to matter who the quarterback is. The team itself is not going to be good enough, and the end results are when the margins get thin, and they aren't able to overcome everything. You need to be more aggressive. You have to spend more money, more cash than what they have been willing to spend in the past. Now, that ties into step number two. Create more salary cap space. You have to do this. This is actually not that hard either. Maybe the Cowboys in the end don't get to the $100 million figure. Okay, that's fine. You can create plenty of salary cap space. The idea that the Cowboys are tight on salary cap is not actually based in reality. They can choose to be tight on salary cap space and make it an excuse. And maybe it's not that $100 million figure. Maybe it's like $75, $80 million. That is more than enough money to add players to your organization and help you out. That is enough. I promise you, you can spend. You can spend money and build a team that is more competitive. You are already at the top 51 cutoff. You are not so desperately low on players that you're freaking out the way other teams might be right now. You're in top 10 or near top 10 in current players under contract. You have to spend more cash. You have the abilities to spend more cash. And one way in which you can do that is pay Micha Parsons as soon as possible. Head coaching search, coaching staff hires, more important. That's fine. I get that. There is zero justifiable reason why the Dallas Cowboys should enter the new league year, enter day one of free agency, and have not paid Micha Parsons yet. There's none. I don't care about the attention you can get, Jerry. You can make Micha Parsons the highest paid player highest paid non-QB in NFL history. Save money short-term and long-term. Because I don't want to wait till after Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and all those guys, and Jamar Chase all get paid again and compete for the highest paid non-QB price tag. Micah's got a $24 million cap hit right now. That number has been updated from over the cap with expected rises in salary cap, etc. So it is a little bit higher than what it was previously, like $2 million. So you save $18 million if you extend Micha Parsons, at least up to $18 million. Maybe it's only like 16 if you want how you want to structure the contract, but that's what you can save. You can save 37 from Dak Prescott, 20 from CeeDee Lamb. That's $75 million without doing anything other than just paying Micha. The Lamb-Prescott contracts are flip switches. That's all I got to do. Boop, done. There you go. Hey, Dak, we did this. Hey, Lamb, we did this. Cool. No change for you. It's built in that way. Pay Micha too, and you can spend in free agency for once. So do you think the Cowboys pay Micha Parsons before free agency? Why for yes and for no? Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Number 4, I do want to retain some of my own players. Now, one big name we'll get to here, Osa Odighizuwa, in a second. I would love to, and I'm focusing on the unrestricted guys like the RFAs, Turpin, etc. Those guys count too, but I'm focused on the big unrestricted free agents. Jordan Lewis, want to keep him. Then I feel better about my cornerback room. Otherwise, corner's a big need for me, especially at the nickel spot. I would like to keep Rico Dowdle and draft somebody at running back. I want to keep one or two of my defensive ends, so it's Micha Parsons and Marshawn Nealand and an injured Sam Williams, and if I can keep one or two of Chauncey Golston, Carl Lewis, who makes sense with the now Jets D-line coach in the fold. He worked with him in New York too. And Tank Lawrence, keep one or two of those guys. There you go. I can do all of that, I think, with a maximum of a $10 million cap hit. It's not going to be like the 3 combined that Lewis and Dowdle counted for last year, but I don't think I can structure those deals properly and not pay more than $10 million on my cap this year and not overly push it off into the future either. Number 5, and this is a big one for me, especially with Matt Eberflus now as your defensive coordinator. I have to add help at defensive tackle. I cannot do the exact same fart around BS I did last year where I entered August essentially with Osa Odighizuwa, Mozzie Smith, and nobody else along the defensive line. Justin Rogers and Denzel Daxon, I don't trust those guys. Osa is going to be expensive if you choose to go down that path. But given the limited high-end impact defensive lineman, he is going to be expensive. I would not be surprised if this deal pretty easily gets to $15 million per year. There's like 20 defensive tackles who make at least $15 million per year. Could be higher than that. Franchise tag's too expensive there. So you don't have to pay Osa, though, if you don't want to. You can look in a different direction. You know, Milton Williams is probably going to be too expensive. Javon Hargrave is going to get cut by the Niners. That one is not going to cost you $20 million. Might not cost you 15. Javon Kinlaw suddenly makes sense as a cheaper option with the Jets D-line coach now in the fold. He fits historically what Eberflus likes in his defensive lineman. You can go get some cheap run stoppers. Sebastian Joseph Day, Poona Ford, Bobby Brown. I am willing to allocate a significant amount of money to my defensive line room. I'm willing to spend $15+ million per year on that group because we've seen it before. We've seen it with Osa. Defensive line is often a slower to adjust position. Shoot, look how long it took Quinn Williams to truly get going. Like both those guys took a little bit longer. So I am willing to spend on the defensive line and then allow myself to spend draft picks on different spots as well. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, available in over 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. This is one of the Prize Picks slates I've got for the big game coming up in about a week. Well, I guess more than a week, but still. Patrick Mahomes, the free square. There's no reason not to take it, even if you don't like him. Take the half passing yard. It's a no-brainer. Saquon Barkley, more than rushing yards. And then I like Xavier Worthy. Get him going on the reverse. Andy Reid loves that stuff. 5.5 yards on the ground for that one. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Number 6, again, I think you have some flexibility with this one. You need, especially once you get your entire offensive staff locked in, you need to commit to your offensive line plan. Do you feel the need to go get a new left tackle and put a guy in on the right side? Okay, commit to that. You're going to figure out what the plan is at right guard. Maybe think you can get by with Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, and a mid-round pick. Okay. Maybe you think a better O-line coach will get a better version of Terrence Steele going. I don't necessarily want to invest, 4 first-round picks on the offensive line. I don't know if that's good overall asset management, but let's pick your offensive linemen. I think in general, probably add some depth no matter what. And let's build around that unit and make it better than what it was last year. I do think coaching was a big factor in that, by the way. Number 7, go get a number 2 wide receiver. And I would like, if possible, to do this in free agency. Otherwise, I got to spend my first or second round pick on the spot. So, look, you're not going to get T. Higgins. Don't even bother getting your hopes up. It's not going to happen. Dallas is not going to get into a bidding war to pay T. Some other receivers. Goodwin is probably pushing it, but he's coming off injury. Who knows? Stephon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs' brother, also coming off injury. You're going to hear a lot of that one. Marquise Brown intrigues me as a speedy receiver. Maybe you could bring back Amari Cooper. Not sure the Bridges are in good shape with that relationship, but I don't think Amari or Diggs are going to be nearly as expensive as a Goodwin or a T. So name a player who you want the Dallas Cowboys to sign. Let me know in the comments section of today's show what player you want to sign in free agency. Number 8, and I don't want to spend big money here either. I don't think you have to spend big money here. I want to get a veteran linebacker to help bide the time until, in theory, DeMarvion Overshown is fully healthy and not have to rely on just Maurice Leafau and a third-round pick or something at linebacker again. Some linebacker targets. Now, maybe Nick Bolton, Dre Greenlaw get a little bit more expensive for you. There's a couple different names on here. You could always bring back Eric Hendricks if you want to. I think he would still fit the Matt Eberflus scheme. EJ Speed has ties to Eberflus as well, the Colts linebacker. I've always been a fan of Kazir White. I don't want to spend massive money on my linebacker because I think I can be okay long-term with Leafau and Overshown. I want to spend my big money on the defensive line. I want to spend it elsewhere, and I'll go a little bit cheaper. Divine Diablo has been a little inconsistent in the NFL, but I like him not coming out of Virginia Tech, so I went and stuck him in there too. I think you can find a starting linebacker without having to break the bank. If you can get an Eric Kendricks type impact at the Kendricks cost, I'm fine with that. Number 9, I would like to sign cornerback insurance. And I'll be honest, this one's tough. I can find a receiver. I think I can find a linebacker, find DTs. I have a tougher time finding a cornerback, I think. I don't know what Travarius Ward's market is going to look like. Didn't play a lot down the stretch here because of the unfortunate tragedy in his family. He was a former Cowboy. Maybe coming back home could make some sense. Maybe Stephon Gilmore wants to come be a stopgap option this time around. That's kind of the issue. The problem we're going to here is, especially if you keep Jordan Lewis as I proposed, you're looking for insurance policies. And those policies, normally those corners say, I just want to be a starter somewhere. So maybe a buy low guy like Eric Stokes. It's not perfect because he's had issues too. Buy a guy like Christian Fulton, who was better for the Chargers this year. Rasul Douglas coming off a slightly downer year. I think you can at least try to find a corner so you're not one play away from having to toss out Kalen Carson as your number 1 corner again. Now, all those moves I made, I can do that within my budget. Doesn't leave me a lot of money left over. Although if I cut Terrence Steele or a safety and go draft somebody, I can make it work even more so. But I can make that work in my budget. And we will do a specific free agency plan with actual numbers involved and a little bit less choose your own adventure side of it in the future. So make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV for more free Cowboys videos. That brings us to number 10. And again, we'll do perfect draft plan close to the draft as well. In an ideal world, that's what this video is, right? I want to go mostly BPA in the draft. The Cowboys draft the best when they don't have to force themselves into, we got to get an offensive tackle in round 1. We got to get a new left tackle. They don't do well when they do that. When they get to just let the board come to them and make picks, good things tend to happen. Look, in general, it is not possible for the Dallas Cowboys with 3 top 150 picks to fill all of their needs in free agency or in the draft. I can't do it. I have to spend more in free agency. If you want to build a better team, you have to go do that. Now, look, if you are an Ashton Jeanty believer, okay, go fill your needs in free agency. Don't make me have a glaring hole at wide receiver 2 and a glaring hole on the defensive line and say, hey, there's a similar graded player here or a little bit worse, but let's just take the back. Fill your needs, and you can justify taking a Jeanty in round 1 a little bit more. In an ideal world, you get a running back. Maybe Genty's not even there for you, and you take a damn good player in a loaded class on day 2, and we're all happy about it, unlike last year. I think even if you sign a defensive tackle and you pay some money there, I still want to draft a defensive tackle early. I think that's a good idea because I think you need more influx of talents there. I think a wide receiver, if you don't sign somebody, boy, you can really talk me into going in some order, running back, wide receiver, DT in the first 3 rounds and get some impact there. I think offensive line depth, defensive line depth at pretty much every level would be nice with all of your extra day 3 picks. And if for some reason you fill all your needs and there's a safety or a tight end that you love or a corner you love, do that. That's fine too. So grade that Cowboys offseason plan for me. A, B, C, D, or F in the comment section of today's show. It is a little bit more choose your own adventure, so it's not as specific as the free agency one will do as well, but I got to go back and look at the free agency one from last year because I was all in on Azeez Al-Shaair, and then he got like $5 million more than I wanted, which was like, shoot. Sometimes it ends up being spot on, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll see how it plays out. We'll have a mailbag here on today's show as well. 2 ways to get in on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys or skip the line and super chat. Hashtag Cowboys or super chat on today's show. I'll sip some water. We got Jotmon super chat we'll get to early as part of the mailbag. It's a good question. And then we'll get to some super thanks and then any of the questions that come in via hashtag Cowboys or via that super chat. By the way, if you don't use that hashtag Cowboys, Stone cannot find your question. Not because he's mad at you, but he can't actually find it otherwise. So those are your 2 paths there, folks. Use that hashtag Cowboys or skip the line altogether and super chat. Those are your 2 paths to getting on to this upcoming mailbag. We got a super thanks to get things started from CJ DeYoung III. The only thing I have confidence in regarding the Joneses is their ability to completely F-S up. I'm sure you guys can follow the emojis there. It's also 10 seconds into the video. I don't want to start swearing immediately today. Thank you. Thank you, CJ. I appreciate that. General angst over the Jones boys is certainly not unique to CJ and not unique on this mailbag, as we'll get into. Also from CJ, this is on my Stephen Jones sucks short, which I enjoyed saying. Just says, preach Tom, thanks. And then KW, a similar sentiment, says thanks as well. Whatever your super thanks message is, we will show it on the show. It is a feature on YouTube, allows you to donate outside a live show. It's just like a super chat, but it's on demand. Get your messages in. Even if it's Tom, you suck. As long as you're not committing an ism, we will get it on the show. Buddy Ant 0215, will the OC help Schotty with scheme? Be the plan. As of filming, no hire made. We'll see. Probably not too long away from that. Might even get one in before this mailbag cut even goes out, frankly. I think run game focus will be the main thing, which I think is a positive because I didn't like the run game scheme last year. I think getting someone with a bit of a more creative, unique run game schematics, I think would be a benefit to this Cowboys team. The username is the username. We'll just say it's FJB. Our coaching staff is not much different from our front office. We have a bunch of nobodies, has-beens, and never wases. But the wheels come off next year rather quickly, and Jones having to explain himself. The wheels came off quickly last year, too. And he kind of didn't really explain himself. So I get in general the angst about this Cowboys team. Of the hires made so far, I don't mind them, actually. I think Eberflus is a quality DC hire. The Jones boys connection is a bit annoying to me, but in a bubble, it's a fine hire. Dave Borgonzi makes sense. Andre Curtis makes sense. I like the Jets defensive line coach, Aaron Whitecotton, that you brought over. Nick Sorensen, as special teams coordinator, makes me go, That one worries me a little bit. You were downgraded no matter what from Bones Fossil. A lot of it still rides on Schottenheimer in the end. A $25 super thanks from Corruption Afton. Thank you, Afton. I'm still questioning the coach's decision on Brian Schottenheimer. Don't know who that is. But honestly, the Cowboys straight up for Ashton Genty, who's already taken, stay at the 12th pick in the first round, draft Luther Burden, or take Sherrod Carey's not person. I think he means Siobhan Ravel would be my guess on the autocorrect there, Afton. Let's be more honest here. The Cowboys should have me as a head coach. I don't know about that one either, but it's funny and I appreciate it. I think I don't want to trade up for a back. You're light on draft capital as it is. A running back has never put a team over the top. Maybe it does in Philadelphia, which would be kind of painfully ironic for me. But if you just stamp pat and take Burden at 12, or if you trade down and take one of Burden and Ibuka, I'm on board with that idea. I think that's actually a sound plan. Now, who do you want to draft in round 1? No wrong answers. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show. From Jotman, hey Tom, sorry if you've answered this already. Is there any reason the Micha extension isn't done yet? The Cowboys went to the sign now, or is there a date we have to wait for? You could have signed Micha a year ago. You have to have 3 accrued seasons, which in most cases just 3 years playing. If you're hurt or a practice squad guy, you don't get the accrued years. That's how RFAs happen and not just outright free agency. But you can pay Micha whenever you want to. The date I have my eye on is week 1. Or not week 1, day 1 of free agency. If it's not done by then, you're missing out on a chance to make your roster better because you're carrying a large cap hit that you can't do anything with. Once you pay Micha, just like you did when you paid Lamb, all of a sudden you're going to get like $15, $18 million of salary cap space open. So not doing it last offseason, I would have preferred, but so be it. It's fine. Now you have to get it done before free agency, or else you're just missing out on an opportunity. Steven GX. I wouldn't be mad if the Cowboys got Joshua Farmer from Florida. I think Florida State is where he's at. He showed out at the Senior Bowl. FSU, I'll be honest, ended up being lower on my priority watch list this year because they were bad. So unlike last year when I was like, yeah, this FSU guy's really good, this guy's really good, I was like, hey, let's dial things back here. Wanye Thomas's brother, the corner, Azarie Thomas, is also very good. Got my eye on him. Patrick Creighton was a pretty colossal disappointment, but they've got some good players. And Farmer, I think, is day 3. We'll see. Pick along the D line. I'm down. Freddie, does no McCarthy mean Amari can return? I don't know. I wouldn't get my hopes necessarily. I don't think that it wasn't just a Mike thing. There were other issues in that organization from the front office. They let things get personal with Amari. And I don't know if those bridges are fully healed. Now, Amari is not the same player he was in his prime. I think we have to acknowledge that. The age and the injuries have kind of caught up with him. But if you can get him on a cheaper 1-year deal, I'm not opposed to that either. So would you bring back Amari Cooper? I'm not paying that $20 million, though, right? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. TG Collects. Let me get some more super chats here. Heard some people say that to cut Diggs and sign us all corner to save some money. What do you think about that? You don't save any money by cutting Diggs. His contract is guaranteed for injury. Now, if you don't want to touch Diggs' money and keep the salary cap number the way it is, okay, that's fine. There is an argument to, if he's going to be on your contract, on your books, you might as well restructure it, because it saves you money in the short term, and $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. That argument I get. If you're very worried about Diggs overall, probably just leave it as is and see how things play out, and maybe get some salary cap insurance back with the unique stuff going on there these days. But you're not going to save money cutting Diggs. You want to sign a veteran insurance policy? I'm fine there too. Smallsy Mom, I do want to get to CBG88s, by the way. Thoughts on Mike Green? Where is he on your board? That is the Michigan pass rusher. He's really good. The edge rushing class in general is flavors of ice cream. Like, do you like Michael Williams? Do you like James Pierce? At least outside of Abdul Carter. Do you like a Mike Green? Where do all those guys kind of slot in for you? I think is a valid question. I like Green a lot. He's not going to have like a top 10 grade for me. He'll probably have a back end of round 1 grade for me. And with the amount of those grades I'm going to have, when we get to the Cowboys on the clock, and it's the best 5 players, Mike Green will probably be among them. Granted, do I want to spend another premium pick on an edge? I don't know. I have Marshawn Yellen. I have Micah Parsons. That's a lot of investment, but he's a very good football player. Go watch that Ohio State game. He played really well. CBG88 says, you see the Cowboys. That's not on there, but it was he commented in a reply. Cowboys using the tag on Osa. The franchise tag for Osa is like $22 or $23 million. So no, I did look that up because I wanted to, I was like, should you do it? No, it's too much money. Not the tag, but you might have a bidding war on your hands if he hits free agency, though. But I don't think a tag is a good idea. Kind of what the Dolphins did with Christian Wilkins in the end. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time's got a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. So don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. It is curation to save you more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything else in between. Always keep an eye out for the super deal. It is the best value for any given event. You can find a really fantastic deal and save some money on great seats. It's what the super deal is built for. You can get the Game Time guarantee for every purchase as well. Game Time guarantee is this. You find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app today. Create your account. Redeem code CHATSPORTS Chat Sports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account. Redeem code Chat Sports for $20 off over at GameTime.co. Day TV. Who's you like to pair with CD from free agency as well as the draft? If you want to spend I'll give you a bigger name, cheaper name, early round name, later round name. If you want to spend some more money in free agency, someone like a Stephon Diggs and Amari Cooper and a dream, the impossible world is Chris Godwin. I don't think that happens, by the way. Those names are a bit more expensive. If you want to go cheaper, you're probably looking for archetyped. And I don't know how expensive a Darius Slayton would be, but getting that speedy outside receiver I think would actually be beneficial to you. You want to spend a round one pick, Luther Burden, I think, fits really well as a yak guy you don't really have. If you want to wait till day 2, I'm intrigued by a bigger body on the outside in a Trey Harris and Elliot Ayomanor. If you want to gamble in the 3rd round, maybe Torrey Horton falls to you. And I don't think Savion Williams is going to fall down that far for you. Gets a little thin for me in the wide receiver core, in the wide receiver class after those first 10 or so guys. It's kind of why I think if you're adding a number 2, probably should come in the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. Now, we'll have more coverage for you here on the Cowboys Report, so make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Dwayne Jackson with the shoddy hire. Do you think it was a last resort because of the lack of coaching search? Knowing how Jerry operates, it doesn't matter who they interview. Most likely they would say no. Still conflicting info as to if Kellen Moore told the Cowboys no or not, or if that was this isn't really what I want, this isn't really what you want, we'll go our separate ways. Kind of sounds like to an extent they went into the process of we want Schottenheimer to call the plays no matter what, which, again, that's just backwards. That's kind of why your options were Robert Saleh and Leslie Frazier. I wish you'd interviewed Anthony Weaver and Mike McDonald, but a lot of coaches don't want to have their first job be, we're sticking you with this OC that hasn't called plays in 4 years. I even wonder if, potentially, this is all speculation, I wonder if they were yeah, Kellen, you want to come and also make Shoddy the OC, which I think is actually probably the wrong spot for both those guys if you have to organize them. I just think that they kind of went in wanting Shoddy on the staff, and the result became the result. Matt Hervey. I think we got Shiloh on day 3 despite the Senior Bowl practices. If it's late day 3, who cares? I don't think Shiloh's going to be some instant starter at safety. I don't think he's going to be anything near what his dad was. I think he can carve out a back end of an NFL roster role. Maybe he can be a special teamer for you. But he was rough in the Kansas State game in particular. He got better as the year went on, though. I think he's a backup safety in the NFL. So day 3, sure, wouldn't surprise me either. CJ, 0K. Like, that's okay. Agree with Cam on Tank. He's in a good arch. I assume you mean Cam Newton. And I say this with all due respect. Cam Newton has no idea what he's talking about. Cam Newton is the ultimate. I'm just going to say outlandish stuff to get attention and be a part of ESPN. Like, that's he's doing the stupid former player playbook of, let me have an outlandish take to get attention. Nothing that he said made any sense. Same with his argument of, I'd rather have an MVP than a Super Bowl, which I'm not taking that mindset. His argument was like, I want to be remembered as a legendary player, and the MVP helps me do that. Bro, a kicker won NFL MVP one time. Like, who cares? People remember Eli Manning, not Phillip Rivers. Not that Rivers won MVP, but you guys know what I mean. How many games will the Cowboys win in 2025? I think your team's too talented to actually tank out. I mean, you saw it this year. They still won 7 games. They were injured as all get out. I think even in a down year, I don't think it's going to be actually range for the number 1 overall pick. So how many games do they win? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. King Carroll, what's Dak's injury timeline for the offseason? Should be good to go well before off-season workouts get going. He's been off the crutches. He's been, able to walk around freely, all that stuff. So if this injury had happened at like the beginning of the season, he might have been able to come back. Frankly, they might have been able to push that timeline there. But the middle of the year, it was not going to be feasible. But he'll be good to go well before the season begins. Lucid Chart, I think the Cowboys should trade the 12th overall pick. Should they take someone? Depends on who's on the board for me. If there's a really good player, if there's a guy that I love, if I'm down to 1 first-round grade or 2 first-round grades, I'm going to take that guy. If I get picked over a little bit and there's top guys on my board are gone and I got like Burden and Ibuka and Golden and all those receivers, like, okay, I can trade down 5 spots and see what happens, like they did with the Guyton pick. But if there's a true first-round grade on the board at number 12 and it's my last one, just take him. Now, what do you guys like more, D, T, or F? In the comments section of today's show. D for draft, T for trades, F for free agency. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. D, T, or F in the comment section of today's video. D, T, or F. Sound off for me in the comments section of today's show. Sip some water as the votes come in. Hope you guys know what I'm doing with the DTF side. Get some more super chats here in just a minute as well. Appreciate those coming in here. Make sure I've not missed anything on the news side. Well, looks like we're good. Sweet. Get those votes in, draft, trades, or free agency in today's comment section. We don't wife these 304s. No hashtag no Kellen Morrison and no Ken Dorsey. How to become a funny like you. How to become funny like you. Talk better than that for starters. Poking fun at myself there. I don't know. I got no answer. I don't think I'm that funny either. I think I'm like average funny. Look, I don't really want Ken Dorsey either as my OC. I don't love that fit. Seems like it's just going to the retread well that got fired back-to-back years in a row and now gets to be an OC again. That's kind of weird to me. So I get that. I think the Cardinals guy is intriguing. We'll see what might be a money issue there. Who knows? We'll find out, I'm sure, in the not-too-distant future. CBG88, word on restructuring 4-7-88's contracts. So that's Dak, Diggs, and Lamb. They will restructure Dak. They will restructure Lamb. Otherwise, I just don't know what they're doing. You want to form a more competitive team, you do that to afford players to re-sign and more guys on your roster. It's a no-brainer. I don't know about Diggs, though. Coming off the injury, they could have restructured his deal last year, and they didn't. And I was a little bit surprised with that. Not a lot surprised, but a little bit. I was surprised they restructured Steele's contract last year to get some more short-term cap space. So I don't know about Diggs. I have my doubts, but I would fully anticipate Dak and Lamb's deals getting restructured because there's really no reason not to, frankly. All right, what do you guys like more, D, T, or F in the comments section for draft, trades, and free agency? As your votes come in, we will get to the draft side of it. A new 7-round mock draft coming up next. Before we get to the latest 7-round mock draft I've done for the Dallas Cowboys on the PFF Sim, if you want a mock draft with trades, help me out by sharing today's video on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Want to make sure this is what you guys want. Now, with Brian Schottenheimer hired, it's time for a new Cowboys mock draft. I've got no trades in this one. We will do one with trades at some point in the not-too-distant future. It's just the Dallas Cowboys picks. I do want to make note. I've got 3 top 150 picks, or near 150 picks. I cannot fill all of the Cowboys' needs. I can fill needs, really, with my first 3 selections. Everything else is just like, okay, let's see what depth, upside, rotational players I can find a way to get. It's those first 3 picks that matter the most. They're the most impactful ones. So I ran the PFF Sim. These were the round 1 picks. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Tet McMillan, Mason Graham. Off the board, first 5 picks. Plausible, feasible, nothing overly surprising there. The rest of the way, Shedeur Sanders goes 6 to the Raiders. Will Campbell goes 7 to the Jets. Will Johnson to the Panthers. Malachi Starks to the Saints. Luther Burden off the board to the Bears at 10. Josh Simmons off the board to the Niners, so a little bit surprising there. And in our last mock draft, I told you guys we would do a mock draft at some point that features Ashton Jeanty in round 1. And that's what we got today. He's the best player on my board in this scenario. So if he does get to you at 12, fingers crossed you filled other needs in free agency, you're adding the best player on your board. That's not a bad thing, as long as you fill other big needs. My biggest concern for Jeanty, frankly, is the workload. He had 750 carries this past season. That is a lot. That is a lot of touches for one player to have at the collegiate level. But he is an incredible contact balance runner who is by no means slow. This is an awesome, obvious top 5 talent in the class. You're getting the best player on the board in round 1 with this selection. Others who were there that I went, okay, I'll think about. Mike Green and Shamar Stewart. Green is an upside athletic edge rusher. I like him. I think he's going to be a top 15 player for me. Shamar Stewart's going to give me anxiety. He is a gifted athlete. He does not have any production. I almost wonder if he's a 3 technique for Dallas in the mold of a DeForest Buckner. That I was actually very tempted to do there. Emeka Ibuka was there if you wanted a receiver. Tyler Warren was there. And one of my guys, Janae Barron out of Texas. If Jeanty's gone, there's a chance that I'm very high on Barron, barring some surprise combine testing. Chance he's going to be a top 10 player on my board once I stack it, which I didn't think was going to be the case, but I just think he's really, really good, and I'm just going to go with my gut on that one. So do you want to draft Ashton Jeanty in round 1? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's video. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there. Y for yes, N for no. Other notable picks here. Jahad Campbell off the board, 1 spot before you to the 49ers. JTT, Elike Omenor, TJ Sanders, Walter Nolan would have been a great pick in round 2. Don't love him in round 1, but round 2, I'm all for it. Princely Uman Mielen at number 37 overall. Whether or not you retain Osa Odighizuwa or not, I do think defensive line is a pretty big priority for this team. So Tyleik Williams is there at 44. He's the best available defensive tackle left on the board and part of a loaded DT class. I think you can find somebody good in the first 3 rounds. It is a strong crop of players in this year's class. Now, Williams as a pass rusher, I think, does have some room to grow. I think he's at his best as a run stopper, but I think he can still offer some pocket push. And even if you're banking on a Mozzie Smith breakout, I need to invest more in my defensive line. So I'm treating this as I re-signed Osa or signed a starting 3 technique and added Williams to my rotation, and I feel a lot better about that group. Others who are on the board, I really thought about Savion Williams out of TCU. That is a very fun football player. If you want to sit a right tackle for a year, Cam Williams could make some sense. I'll mention the backs that were here because I think it's worth comparing. Could add Caleb Johnson if you passed on Jeanty, by the way, in round 1. Carson Schwetzinger is a very good linebacker from UCLA. As of right now, I don't have the luxury to take Xavier Watson round 2, but I am a large fan of his game. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. And with the big game around the corner, it is the best time and the last time to get in on the action. Take advantage of their free square. It is the Patrick Mahomes, more than a half passing yard. Pains me, but I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley, more than rushing yards. And Xavier Worthy, I like this one, more than 5.5 yards on the ground. Would anyone be surprised if they got if Andy Reid called up the old Xavier Worthy reverse? I would not. So go download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Notable third-round picks. Raiders took Ozzie Pillow, Crazy Train, at a Boston College, 68. I like Jalen Royals. Would have liked him at 69. So be it. 2 tight ends, Elijah Arroyo and Gunnar Helm, if you want to go down that route. Jalen Milroe was the pick by the Niners, which doesn't make any sense because it's just taking Trey Lance all over again. But in the third, I thought that one was pretty strange. Did leave Trey Harris, the receiver out of Ole Miss, for me in the third round. I don't think the Cowboys have an actual true X receiver. Someone that can operate on the outside, can push the ball down, you get the ball downfield some, can make some big plays. I loved what I saw from Trey Harris. In 8 games this year, he had 1,000 yards. At Ole Miss, he averaged well over 17 yards per catch. Offers some big playability. Isn't the most fluid, athletic freak, but I don't think he's slow either. I think as an outside possession receiver who I don't want to have another 4 or 5 guy, but I think he offers you more downfield than some of your other guys have. I think that's a very intriguing option. Others who are on the board, if you want the speedy guy, Isaiah Bond, you can. I was a bit worried about the way he finished the year, so that's kind of traumatizing for me. Charles Grant is an intriguing offensive lineman, by the way. Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, the running back. Again, you could have had him in the third in this scenario. Then some defensive guys, Josiah Stewart, Andrew Makuba, were some of the better players on the board. Let's get to the 5th round. And I was surprised when Emory Jones was there for me in this PFF mock draft sim. But I'll take him. Right tackle for LSU. He had a bad year. There's no way around it. Jones did not perform the way that I think anyone thought he was going to. This is a player who had legitimate round 1 buzz going in to this year's NFL draft cycle, and he just didn't perform the way he needed to. His pressures, his hurry numbers, they all went up significantly, which, raises very real concerns on that front. But as a right tackle who, maybe he kicks inside to guard, that's a possibility. I do want to mention him. He wasn't nearly as good. He had a rough game against USC and kind of, I argue, never really recovered, so to speak. 1 hit, 1 sack, 4 hits, 23 hurries. Last year was 2 sacks, 1 hit, 15 hurries. He regressed from 2023. But on day 3, with 34-inch arms, yeah, I'll try him. And he's also young. He doesn't turn 21 until March or something, somewhere in that range. So that one certainly stands out as a good value pick there in the 3rd round for the Dallas Cowboys. That's Emory Jones there out of LSU. Now, if you want more free Cowboys YouTube videos, you have come to the right spot. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. All right, round 5, pick 170. Quincy Riley, the cornerback out of Louisville. He is an underrated corner who, again, I thought had a better 2023 campaign, but has consistently found ways to get his hands on the football. It was a down year, 10 games played, 2 interceptions, the lowest of his past 4 years. He's put up 12 picks over 4 seasons. I like this kid. Of a, frankly, not very good cornerback crop that went all the way through the Senior Bowl, I thought Riley was probably one of the better ones down there. I am intrigued by him a lot on day 3. Plus, you need cornerback depth. Round 5, 2 picks later, Aeneas Peebles out of Virginia Tech. This is an undersized 3 technique who can get after the QB is one of my preferred day 3 sleepers. Began his career at Duke, then made his way over to the Virginia Tech Hokies. I like him. This is, again, I think a number 4 defensive lineman for you early on who can, get in theory, I've been able to retain or sign someone similar-ish behind Osa Odighizuwa. Peoples is not very big. He kind of has, frankly, in Osa build. He's listed like at 6'1", 6'2", 290, somewhere in that ballpark. But there have been plenty of pressure opportunities. He had 31 pressures this year for Virginia Tech. That's a lot for an interior defensive lineman. One of the higher, pass rush win rates in college football as a 3 technique. Round 5, how about Jay Higgins, the Iowa linebacker? I'm thinking day 3 linebacker can be a rotation piece if you need him to be, can help on special teams, and can, be a better version than maybe Damone Clark has been for you as of late. A lot of tackles for him. I think he mostly holds up pretty well in coverage, too. Had 3 interceptions this year, by the way. I'm a little surprised he's always in the 5th round in some of these sims. I might have him a little bit higher on my board when it's all said and done. Let's get weird with the last 2 picks. How about a backup quarterback? Max Brosmer, the quarterback from Minnesota, who I might just call Max Bro because it's funnier that way. Look, it is a bad quarterback class. He had more success, though, this past year at Minnesota for transferring from, I'm pretty sure it was New Hampshire, by the way. And, again, it is a down QB class. But in late day 3, I am down to try. I am down to try to find someone to groom and develop and become a backup quarterback for me. There's not a ton of mobility, but I think in what the Cowboys offense is going to be, he could actually be a decent fit. Now, if you don't want to go QB, I get it. Also, Jackson Dart was here in the sim, and that was just ridiculous, so I did not take him because he's not going to get to the 6th round. Would you draft a QB this year? 1 for yes, 0 for no. And would anyone be surprised if the Cowboys spent their final pick on Shiloh Sanders? Would anyone in the world be surprised by that if they took Deion's kid? I think if he goes undrafted too, he's a Cowboy. I think he's a Cowboy no matter what, by the way. His best year was back in 2021 with Jackson State. I don't think he's a starter in the NFL. I think he's a special teamer backup guy, but it would not surprise me because of the everything about the Jones boys with that one. So to recap, Ashton Jeanty, round 1. Tyleik Williams, round 2. Trey Harris, round 3. Emory Jones, round 5. Quincy Riley, also in round 5. Aeneas Peebles, Jay Higgins with some of those comp picks. Max Brosmer out of Minnesota, and Shiloh Sanders in the 7th round because it's the Cowboys, right? So grade the mock draft for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments of today's show. All right, one more time here, folks. Will the Cowboys actually spend in free agency? Y for yes, N for no. Get those votes in for me in the comments of today's video. 56% voting no, which I get. I will believe it when I see it. Super chat from Gianni Chacon. I'm going to go with that pronunciation. It could be terribly wrong, but if it is, I'm sorry. With the new coach on board, I think the Cowboys will spend more on players in free agency. I hope so. I have my doubts. They need to. If they want to be viewed as a serious contender, they have to add more talent. They've had some misses in the draft class. You can't only build a team just through the draft. Look at the teams in the Super Bowl. Look at their additions outside of the NFL draft. Look at all the things that they have done to add talent. Chiefs go trade for DeAndre Hopkins. They sign Hollywood Brown. They sign Joe Tooney. They sign Jawan Taylor. They sign Drew Tranquill. They sign Justin Reed. They are willing to go outside the organization to add talent. Look at the Eagles. Trade for A.J. Brown. They signed Mekhi Becton, which was a pretty damn good pickup, who I'm intrigued by. If you can get him on a reasonable deal to come be your right guard, by the way. You make the big splash for Saquon Barkley. You sign Zach Bond. You sign Oren Burks. You trade for Darius Slay. You sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You sign Isaiah Rodgers. They have been willing to do stuff outside of the organization and not just like our guys. You have to do the same. You got to spend more cash than you spent as well. All right, before we sign off, a reminder, the next live Cowboys Report is set for 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Be back live again on Monday, so do not miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV.